So when you're scrolling through My Protein bulk powders, you'll see hundreds of supplements that are featured on there, and to be quite frank, it can be a little bit confusing as to what I should buy and what I shouldn't. So today I'm going to be telling you which of these supplements are worth your money and which of these are worth you saving your money and avoiding. Okay, so the first supplement I'm going to cover is creatine monohydrate. Now, this is one of the most scientifically backed supplements you can find and has a whole host of benefits, and probably most people will be thinking about taking this. Okay, so why is creatine good? So it can be really good for boosting your performance when it comes to things like strength and high intensity exercise. Now, the reason for this is because when you do this sort of exercise, we rely heavily on ATP for energy, okay? Now, when you take creatine, we're increasing our phosphocreatine levels, which therefore can result in an increase of ATP production. So we have more of that energy we rely upon for this high intensity exercise, okay? I could go into it for ages, but this isn't a science lesson, okay? Creatine is also good for developing lean mass. It can improve your cognitive function. One thing I will note for creatine is that it will increase your water retention. So if you're looking to gain mass and you see the weight goes up a little bit, it might not necessarily just be muscle, it could be water retention as well. In terms of how often you should have creatine, you should have it daily, and I would recommend 5 grams per day. The only note there is if you're very heavy, you're going to want a little bit more because you need more creatine to saturate your muscles, okay? So 5 grams a day is a really good general rule, but some people might need between 5 and 10, okay? So that is creatine. That's a definite yes from me. Okay, the next one of the most common again, whey protein, okay? Now, I'm going to start all of this by saying that the majority of your protein should be coming from whole foods, from a balanced diet, okay? Because all of these things are supplements, which means they are supplementary to your diet, okay? But why do I like whey protein? Well, because A, it's fast absorbing, meaning you're not going to need to wait hours and hours for it to actually get into the system. It can act quite quickly. This is really good when it comes to recovery, okay? So creatine was more about improving performance, but protein, whey in particular, is more about recovery, okay? Now, I don't know if any of you guys have had this same thing. When you're young and you go out to buy whey protein and you bring it back to your mum seems to think that you just purchased steroids like mine did, okay? Now, if many mums are watching this, that's not the case. Whey protein is perfectly safe. It's essentially filtered milk, okay? And what this whey protein is really good at, protein is obviously essential for protein synthesis, muscle growth, etc., etc. So just allowing us a really quick and convenient way of hitting our daily protein targets to allow for this growth and recovery is really helpful. As I say, don't rely upon it, but definitely good to keep you topped up on your protein intake. Okay, next one I'm covering, pre-workout. So how do I rate pre-workout as a supplement? Now, I've said this before, you should never, ever, ever be relying upon pre-workout for every single training session. The reason for that is simply because your body's just going to become so used to it that it thinks it needs all these stimulants to actually perform. Which just personally isn't the way I view health and fitness, isn't the way I like to go about things. But pre-workout does have a use, especially if you've got a big session coming up or like PB, 1RM, whatever, okay? Now, a lot of ingredients go into pre-workouts, okay? And one of my personal favourites, or that I recommend anyway, is the gold standard from Optimum Nutrition. It's probably one of the better ones on the market along with C4, okay? Now, the ingredients that matter are actually fewer than you think. So the ones that I really think matter, citrulline malate, really important to give you just the boost you need. It's probably, if anything, I'd say it's the most important. Caffeine, obviously we all know about caffeine, but you can get that from energy drinks. So you don't, in a pre-workout, you need more than caffeine, otherwise you just buy an energy drink. So you've got your caffeine, you need citrulline malate, beta-alanine is good, that can be the thing that sometimes makes you feel like you're itchy or whatever. And then maybe taurine. But realistically, if you're really caffeine sensitive and you get a big boost from energy drinks, then you'll be fine with energy drinks most of the time. If you are going to use pre-workout, as I say, find a pre-workout that has some of these ingredients in. If I look at this one, for example, we've got 750 milligrams of citrulline, we've got 1.5 grams of beta-alanine, 175 milligrams of caffeine. So all the things I'm mentioning here are on here, so you can check quite easily to see if the pre-workout you want to use is suitable. So yeah, pre-workout can be great, however, don't rely upon it every session, for God's sake. Okay, so next up is electrolytes / hydration drinks. Now, drinking water is obviously really good for hydration, etc, etc. But the one thing that water can't replace is things like our sodium. So when we sweat, we're losing salts as well. Now, electrolytes / hydration drinks can be really good to help replace what we lose from sweat. And even from sleep if we spend a long time not drinking, obviously. So, when you've got electrolytes or hydration drinks, the things you want to look for, you want to be making sure you've got sodium, magnesium, and potassium in particular. Okay, the one I use, I quite like, is from Marchon. Sodium is 750 milligrams, so it's nice and high, but it's not too extreme. 100 milligrams of magnesium and 200 of potassium. So, okay, all three of those things are in there. And as I say, is this essential? No, but it's definitely something that I take every day because I'm really serious about my hydration, because hydration has such a big impact on performance. And sometimes it's not the little things that are letting you down when it comes to getting that PB or getting that marathon completed or without cramps or anything like that. It's just something as simple as making sure you're not leaving your hydration to chance and you're on top of it, okay? So electrolytes, hydration drinks, absolutely worth the money. Okay, so these are the main supplements I'm going to cover today, but I have got some special mentions. A lot of people go on about their morning stack, where you take about 750 different supplements. I'm not going to cover that many, but I'm going to give you a few honourable mentions that I think is beneficial. The first of which, multivitamins. Okay, it just helps us allow for all the vitamins that you might not get from our diet. Obviously, each of our diets will be different. We might be lacking in different things. Obviously, you can do a test for this as well. Multivitamins are a really good way of just covering those bases and filling in those gaps. In the winter in particular, or in the UK a lot of the year, because it's not very sunny, vitamin D3, obviously that's what you get from sunlight, but obviously, as I said, in the UK, we don't always get that. So I take less of this in the summer, but generally in the winter, daily for me too. Omega-3, take these. These just reduce inflammation. If you have a high training workload or volume, then you're going to get a lot of inflammation. Just helping to keep on top of that is just the omega-3. The other mentions that I've got with me, cordyceps can be really good for endurance because they can improve oxygen utilization, so you can get some VO2 gains there. Lion's mane is really good for cognitive function. And then if you really have trouble sleeping, I'd recommend strategies other than supplements and not relying upon them. But supplements such as ashwagandha, I think I pronounced that right, is good because it's not a sedative-like effect, but it will help just reduce the stress, which might make it a bit easier for you to fall asleep. And just as a little bonus, I'm going to finish this video with some of my big no-nos. These three supplements I don't really ever recommend because I think there's so many better alternatives. Number one is mass gainers. I get it, you might want to be getting those calories in because you're trying to put on mass. When I was younger and I weighed 45 kilos, that's what I was trying to do. Mass gainers are full of shit, like they're really not very healthy. I actually found it just ended up being much easier to get from eating more, and maybe just having smaller meals more frequently was a much better option for me. Never recommend mass gainers, doesn't end well, trust me. BCAAs are quite popular. If you have an extreme amount of training, you do a lot of training, then maybe, but generally the research doesn't indicate that BCAAs actually help us that much at all. So that's really not something that I'd be forking out on. They're not always the cheapest either. And protein shakes that label themselves as diet shakes. Now I've got a real bone to pick with these, because what does that mean? Okay, realistically, the ingredients are still the same, but you're going to be paying a premium price for it, okay? Could there be less calories in? Yes, but it probably means they've cut corners elsewhere. Diet protein shakes are no more healthy than other protein shakes, okay? Now, some people will be like, but whey protein doesn't agree with my stomach. Then you try the vegan protein, okay? And then maybe that's a little bit better. But diet protein shakes, I'm telling you, are never the answer, because it won't be the protein shake that makes you lose weight. It will be you being in a calorie deficit, okay? It will not be the protein shake. And the 50 or 100 calories you might save from that are not going to be the difference between you dropping 3 kilos of body fat, okay? They're just not. Alright, so there's my 3 big no-nos. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the videos. Obviously, I don't have infinite hours, so I can't cover every single supplement you're going to see on these websites, but I think I've covered the main ones that a lot of you will be interested in. Obviously, if I've missed something that you want to know the answer to or my thoughts on it, drop a comment down below or just get in contact with me. But yeah, thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you in the next video.